Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to episode 26 of Let's Talk Meditation with Heather Nieves. I love helping women learn to love themselves and step into their highest potential through movement, meditation, mirror work. And today I have a really special episode for you because I'm bringing a guest in who is going to talk to us about what is EFT tapping. We'll get into, I'm sure motherhood will come up, abundance, prosperity, programs we've done together. So I would like to introduce Whitney Warmka today. Welcome, Whitney, to the show.
Thank you.
You're in Minnesota?
Yes.
Okay. Woo, got that right. That's a miracle. So you are such a beautiful soul that, we've supported each other online for years now. We've been in containers together. You have led me in containers, and I just love the work that you do. You hold space for others so beautifully. And when I sit for your tapping sessions or meditations or just listen to your spiritual talks in the co-op Facebook group, it's so I'm able to digest it, and it just speaks to my soul. And your tapping sessions always offer me such a powerful release. And so I'm so grateful that the universe connected us and that you are honoring the nudge to rise up and share your magic with the world. So thank you for your willingness to come here to talk about all the things today. So if you would introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and we can, just dive into all the things today.
Thank you for that. That was so beautiful. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm really excited to talk to you because our missions are really similar. We have similar values, and we love bringing this message of self-empowerment and self-love and self-care, all of those things into the world. So I'm really grateful to be here. I am a self-leadership coach, which means I help people discern between their heart and their feelings so that they can lead themselves from their essence rather than leading from the wounds, because our wounds take us off track. Our wounds create drama and make us feel stuck. But when we land into our essence, we can lead ourselves, and our essence helps us move barriers and work through challenges and all of these things with so much more ease. And so the tools that I use are EFT tapping. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm currently becoming a Mastering the Brain Game facilitator. And I just love all things energy. I love guiding people back home to themselves because each of us holds our own power. The power is not outside of us, it's within us. And so I just love empowering people.
And I love that, and yes, we have similar missions and we do it in just different ways, yet similar, but you are you and I am me, and I've had my experiences and you have had yours. And yes, we're both mothers. Your daughter is 6 or 7?
6.
She's 6. Oh, we'll get our babies together. I know, I'm like always arranging marriages. I'm like, ooh, that's a great candidate, the way you're raising your daughter. I would love for my son to marry your daughter. She's so wise. So I mean, what powerful examples, we're doing the work on ourselves and then we're sharing it with others, and then we get to share it with our children. And all right, so let me just take it back to the basics because I get excited and I just want to dive right in without, taking it one step at a time. So what is tapping anyways?
So EFT tapping stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And we call it tapping because we're tapping on different energetic meridian points in our body as we're talking. And so it combines talk therapy along with acupressure principles. And there's a lot of science that backs up this modality. There have been lots of research on how tapping as you talk helps you shift through things with much more efficiency, much more ease than just talk therapy alone. And so this tool helps us reprogram our subconscious mind. It helps us move through limiting beliefs. It helps us reduce the charge of emotional triggers so that we can think more clearly, because that trigger is our wound speaking to us, say, take action now. But when we can connect back into our essence, we gain access to solutions that wouldn't be available to us when we're in our fight or flight state. And so this tool is so versatile. We can work on our traumas. We can work on our past. We can work on manifestation and creation in the future, focusing on vision, and then tapping through the things that get in the way that say, you're not good enough for that, or I'm afraid of that. And so it's a tool that you can use at every step of life to help you move forward, to help you attain the things that you desire. And everything you need is right at your fingertips. And so I love this for adults. I love it for kids. I love using it for anxiety. It's so versatile. You can use it to, if you're in a good mood, you can tap to amplify that good mood and to make it that energy even bigger. And it's simple to use.
I think that's so powerful. Whenever I watch TV, I try to learn something. And I love Grey's Anatomy. And it was fascinating me to see different modalities brought in that aren't, medical, because it's a medical show. And there was one of the actors had PTSD from, the military, and they did a tapping session with him. And I was like, yes, they're bringing that in and making it, just introducing it to people that may not have even considered that. And I love that you said, we can use it for our kids to help them. And maybe it's, if you're happy and you want to stay happy, if you have anxiety or something, on the other side of that, that's PTSD. So it's so beautiful that this tool can really support us in so many different ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because there have been a lot of studies, especially with veterans too, on how you can use tapping for PTSD. And so you can use it for all kinds of fears, phobias, weight loss. You can use it for literally anything. If you have a goal and you're having difficulty reaching that goal, tapping is a tool that you can use to get there.
And I think, a lot of people think of trauma, heal, but they don't think about, okay, well, I want to heal from my birth, right? Birth is traumatizing, and motherhood, right? There's that loss of identity from really wanting to grow your business and really tap into the prosperity. I know that when you participated in the online virtual meditation summit that I led with you and 6 others earlier this year. Was that this year? Yeah, I think it was this year or the end of last year. We did it recently, and it was tapping for inner harmony, and it was so unexpected what came up. But the powerful part was I had an emotional release, but I didn't stay there. I think sometimes when we're triggered into crying or anger or overwhelm, we're like so stuck in that emotional state. But the tapping helped me to just fully release it. And then there were these words that I was longing to hear that we close with. So that's one of my favorite parts of your sessions is, let's go in. It's going to be uncomfortable. You might cry, and then be empowered. And sometimes I just want to go straight to the empowerment and not go through the uncomfortable part of the work. But I'm always in awe of how this tool and the way that you guide supports me in such a powerful way.
Yes. I love that you said that, because so many people think the same way. I want to be on the high side. I want to skip right to the positive, to the affirmations. And that's natural. But we have to realize that if we want to truly shift out of it, we don't want to bypass it. We want to witness ourselves in it. So tapping helps us become our own witness, because we vent. We start with how we're feeling right away. And you brought in motherhood. So many of us have mom guilt, or we get frustrated with our kids and we just want to lock them in a closet. And so tapping lets you voice that. I'm so frustrated with my kids right now. I want to lock them in the closet. I don't want to deal with them. And I still love and accept myself anyway. And by just speaking that out loud, being real with yourself and not judging yourself for that, not making yourself wrong, not saying I'm a horrible parent because I have these thoughts. I'd love to meet a parent who hasn't had that thought. But so tapping can help you shift through that, and not just for the moment, but to actually heal it, to actually start to to address the layers that are in the subconscious mind that we're not aware of, to address those layers so that it doesn't keep coming up.
Mm. And I think that's one of the hardest things that we go through in life, and then we beat ourselves up, is when the old stuff continues. This is the podcast about meditation, and people will try it once. They're like, oh, I'm not good at it. And then we talked about this before we even pressed record, where it's like, oh my gosh, I will have some beautiful meditations where I feel so peaceful and it's quiet, or I'll have a 20-minute meditation where for 19 minutes of it, it's so loud. All these thoughts come up that I hadn't thought in the longest time. They resurface, but then that last minute was bliss. So do you consider tapping a form of meditation?
I do, because the way that I tap, we always connect to our essence first. So we are getting into that quiet space so that we feel safe. And then we witness, we are speaking the truth. And then by the time we get to the other side, at least for me, I'm in it, and we've quieted the noise in our heads. We've let it have a voice so it can move on. And then we find that peace, we find that harmony. And so then I love sitting in that for several minutes after a tapping session. And so I think a lot of people are afraid of meditation because, like you said, it's really hard to empty the mind, but tapping allows us to empty it through verbalization.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think what's beautiful is that there's so many types of meditation. What's your personal favorite type of meditation? I know that's hard to choose one, and you don't have to choose one, but for your own personal practice, or maybe just what did you practice today?
Today, I practice quantum expansion. And so that is a form of energy, driving the energy, or driving's not the word, intending energy in a certain pattern and expanding it. The practice is about connecting to source, connecting to essence, and then bringing a frequency into your body and letting that frequency just sing to emanate from you. And so I do that every single day. I do it 2 to 3 times a day. And to me, it's the most powerful form of connection to source and all those things that there is.
And is that self-guided, or are you listening to a guided meditation?
Both. I do it myself, but honestly, I love to be guided. It's a lot easier for me to stay with it if I'm being guided versus just doing it on my own.
I agree. And I think it's powerful, as women, as, facilitators that guide meditation, to say, hey, we don't just sit in perfect silence, right? I mean, well, that doesn't even exist, but we too also prefer to be guided. Or we sometimes sit, and I sit with a 20-minute timer that listens to music, or sometimes that's just not what I desire that day. And I know that it's going to be more powerful if I sit and listen to, I'm ready to receive tapping from Whitney today. I took notes on that one. It was like, I'm ready to, it was a receiving tapping about, I'm ready to receive money today. And I wrote down lots of your affirmations. But we had to go through the uncomfortable stuff of the way that I've judged money and how I've blocked receiving first. And it's like, oh, all right. Really wanted to get to the good stuff first, but I'm in it. I'm in it. So thank you for sharing that part of your personal practice.
Yeah, I used to judge myself for not meditating right. And because I thought that true meditation was that silent mind. And then somebody that I was working with was like, what? You can do it however you want. Do it the right way for you. And I was like, duh. Why am I putting these expectations on myself? This is what works for me. So I'm going to love and accept myself, follow my guidance, and do what works for me, and not try to do what works for everybody else.
I was reading the other day that there is no right way to do yoga. There is also no wrong way to do yoga. So in the same way, there is no right way to do meditation, and there's no wrong way to do meditation. I think the core of this conversation is trusting ourselves. Releasing the
Hallelujah.
judgment. I too used to judge myself. Oh, I'm not good at this, especially when I'm leading others. How come I have such a quote unquote terrible practice? Why is it so loud? Oh my gosh, the things I thought about today in my practice, like no. But that was the power of it, is that the redirect. And the redirects get annoying. But when we release, oh, this is annoying. Okay, all right, here it goes again. But yes, I'm committed. I'm breathing in. I'm breathing in. Okay, I am awesome. Today I am a badass came through. Okay, I'll just focus on the breath, right? So like returning and returning and returning and returning. And that was my practice today. So yes, there is no perfect practice. There is no right. There is no wrong. There is just yours. And that's why I love leading different styles of meditation and bringing in guests to share their style of meditation, because we don't have to do the same one every day. There is value if you were to show up for 7 to 21 to 100 days of tapping, but there's also choices, right? We live in a world of choices, and I think that becomes overwhelming. But if we just simply decide, all right, I'm gonna play with meditation today. I'm gonna try one of Whitney's today, and then tomorrow I'm gonna try one of Heather's, and then the next day I'm gonna try one of Jen's, and maybe I'll sit in silent meditation, or maybe I'll go to the pond and just be in nature and let that be my meditation.
Yes, I think that's so important to get to taste different flavors of it so that you can find a practice that feels good to come back to. Because if you don't want to do it, if you're not going to show up for it, then it's not going to help you. So it has to be something that you're into, that you enjoy, that feels good. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's always easy to show up, but at least you're not dreading it.
Agreed, absolutely. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm not good at meditation. I've never done that before. I've never done tapping before. So I think there's a fear or a resistance to trying something new. So what do you have to say to that? If someone's listening to this and they're like, but I've never done that before, or I've tried it before and it wasn't successful.
If you've tried it before and it wasn't successful, maybe that person wasn't the right, whoever was guiding you wasn't the right guide for you. There's lots of different ways. Everybody leads meditation or tapping or whatever modality their own way. And so I would just encourage people to really get focused on, how do I want to feel? And then be curious, what's my next step in order to feeling that way? And then listen to the guidance. And maybe the next time you get on Facebook, the first thing you see is a meditation from you. And there's your sign. The universe is providing options. The universe isn't saying you must do this. You're just always giving options, or given options, and then you get to say yes, or you get to say no. But people who are, I think, dabbling in meditation, the true goal is you want to feel more peace and ease in the body. You want to be more connected to yourself. And so start with your own practice, whether it's 3 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Just start with something, with the next step. Take a baby step in that direction, and then it will unfold for you. You will be guided. Trust that guidance.
Oh yeah. I think, yeah, again, trusting yourself, I mean, that's why I said trusting the nudges and saying, or, I hear many mentors just like exploring desires, exploring curiosities, like, what's this? Let me check it out, instead of saying, oh, I don't know what that is, right? Like, oh, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what that could offer me today.
Yeah.
So how do you go about facilitating tapping? Is it in group programs? Is it one-on-one? How is it that you do this work in the world? Because I know that you are very generous in the online community with your offerings, but I want to just, kind of find out more about your work specifically.
Yes. So I do both group settings and one-on-one. What I love about groups is when we come together in a group, we can really amplify the energy. And then if we're willing to be witnessed, we learn from each other. And when we witness the healing of somebody else, the vulnerability of somebody else, we receive that healing too. And so I love the group. So I have the Thrive membership with Jen Kohler and Jennifer Dadigan, and we're doing tapping in there. I do some free tapping in the co-op community. I have a free course that anybody can download and just get a taste of tapping. That's what it's called. And then I also do one-on-one, and the one-on-one work goes really deep because as powerful as group tapping is, when you're one-on-one with somebody, it's all about you. It is specific to your story, your emotions, your thoughts. And so we can cover a lot more ground. We can move through a lot more stuff in a one-to-one session than we can in a group session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your group containers are powerful, and you really are able to hold space and reflect back so much that oftentimes we can't notice ourselves. And instead of interjecting your thoughts or opinions, you truly are just holding space. And I think that's so sacred. And I just love you. And that group and membership, I was a part of, and will be again. And the three of you are just incredible women that just remind us of who we are and that we're in the perfect place at the perfect time, but also remind us of our potential. And just, I don't know, there's only so many words that I can find to describe that membership. And then we did the brain games together. So you said you are becoming a facilitator. Can you tell us more about that? Because I really enjoyed that program. Let's hear it.
So Mastering the Brain Game is a 10-week program where we really dive into the games we play in our mind. And so we talk about mirrors and working through triggers and your values and how you want to feel. And I first took the brain game when I was going through my divorce. And for anybody who's been there, divorce is a highly triggering time. So the brain game came in and it really taught me how to take responsibility for me, not try to control my ex, what he was saying, what he was doing. It empowered me. It reminded me who I was. It put the power back in my hands. I'm not a victim here. I'm not I have the power to show up the way that I want to show up. And since then, I've taken the course several times, or I've been present for the course. And when you were taking it, I was there too. And every time you go through the brain game, you access different layers and you release different things. Your awareness grows. And so you expand. And what it ultimately does is it brings peace and ease into your life so that you're no longer engaging in unnecessary drama, so that you're not baited into conversations and things that are draining to you. It really enables you to be a sovereign being, to make powerful choices, to set boundaries, and to quiet the mind, to really feel just that wholeness in yourself, because everything that you need is inside of you. And so the brain game brings you back to that.
I think what it is it's the powerful evidence and information and the breakdown of our patterns. So, we go into meditation, but sometimes we don't understand what's happening, what the resistance is, what we're trying to access, and the potential that we have inside of us when we're sitting for these practices. Okay, I want to feel good. I want to shift how I feel. I'm trying to sit in silence, but this just, I think, breaks it down. And I had so many ahas where it was just like, okay, information on a PowerPoint, but it wasn't just that. I recognized some of my triggers from understanding the emotional, the emotional, like when you go down in your emotions and up, and was it the emotional wheel, or it was all of them?
There's the feeling wheel. Yeah. And then there's the frequency chart. Yeah.
Yeah. Just naming certain behaviors and feelings and recognizing my pattern of moving downward and into lack and boredom and what that was triggering for me, and to be supported and to give myself permission to say it out loud, to own it, but also I think there's that fear of judgment when we're in a container, and oftentimes we hold back from sharing. But that's what I'm saying is the power of you and Jen was that I felt safe, that I could share something that I attached shame to, that I was willing to let go of and to look at and to shift. And so that was a really powerful moment for me. So I
Yes.
highly recommend the program, and I'm excited that you're going to be facilitating it.
I'm so excited. And and one of the things it does is it helps to bring your patterns into your awareness, because if you're
Mm-hmm.
not aware of them, you can't do anything about it. So awareness is key. And a lot of people don't have awareness around what they're feeling. They can identify happy, they can identify sad, they can identify anger, but there are so many emotions that are all on the spectrum. And if you can learn to really feel the nuance, then you can do something about it. You can identify what it is I'm actually needing. I can get my needs met. I can heal this instead of this having this unconscious pattern that continues to keep me off path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I learned that like boredom was actually there with contentment, and that I can rise it up into creation, creativity, or it can spiral down into, okay, I'm bored. So now I need to seek versus create. So whether it was television or alcohol or, like leaving the house and escaping and finding things to do, and still lacking fulfillment in all of those things when I was triggered by quote unquote boredom, which could have been contentment. There could have been peace and ease in it. And I could have tapped into this creativity, this creation. And I'm learning to do that now. But the program helping me bring awareness to this pattern was so profound, because it's been a pattern. Boredom is not like, we have this negativity attached to it in the world that we live in. And so we tell our kids, it's good to be bored, go outside. But once we become adults, we're not doing the same thing. And then you offered tapping sessions when we were going through the emotions of recognizing our patterns and like, oh my gosh, I'm realizing this about myself and this kind of feels awful. What can I do? You're like, oh, let's tap through it. So I love that you provided the tools in that, because you're you. This program is this program, but you're like, oh, let me add on to this so you can continue to feel supported. And this isn't just some like intellectual realization.
Right. It's integrating it into your being so that you practice it and you live it, living the brain game. Because I think another piece that I really love teaching about is separating your essence from your human, from your shadows, from your humanness, and becoming the observer. And so when we're stuck in our humanness or in our wounds, we tend to judge ourselves, versus when we become the witness, the observer, we can shift into that acceptance much more quickly and then move beyond it. Because without acceptance, you can't truly change. You might have short-term change, but the long-term changes when you have that acceptance within yourself.
Yes, 100%. And the work that I do is like, hey, it is more difficult. It is not impossible, but it is more difficult to tap into our magic, our, strengths, our creativity when we are not loving ourselves, when we are not in acceptance of ourselves. So how has this work, I imagine you did the work on yourself before you turned it into a business. How has this work allowed you to step into your gifts and now create an abundant life for you and your daughter and your family, and experience more success as an entrepreneur, as a mother? Because, I have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this, and, I've been talking about money more on the podcast. And, becoming a mother is a decision. It is a beautiful decision. Babies are abundance. However, oftentimes, it doesn't have to be all the time. Oftentimes we give up the receiving of the exchange of that money, right? And then we're financially dependent on other people. And so obviously the dynamic when everybody's home and household is different and their relationships, but it feels so damn good to have your own money. And I've been talking about that more and more, and then we don't have to give up that power. So do you mind speaking to that and how you have become more empowered by doing this work?
Yeah. So as entrepreneurs, we face so many blocks, so many fears, so many limitations. And if we're going to be successful, we need to face them, not run away from them. And so through all of these tools, there's not just one tool, but through the marriage of all of these tools, I've been able to work through so many of my own limitations. And an example now, a recent example, is I just completed a 7-day series, 7 days of tapping and Reiki for abundance. And so I was going live every single day for 7 days and even multiple times a day. And I led that with Jen Dadigan and Jen Kohler. But I was doing most of the live work. And I used to have a story that I would hate that. I would never want to be live that often. It's going to be draining to me. Ugh. And now, having done it, it felt so easeful. I was inspired. I loved showing up every day. There wasn't a single day when I was like, ugh, I wish I didn't commit to this. I was living it. And it's living my purpose. It's bringing my essence to the world and speaking my truth. And so I have grown tremendously in the way that I show up, in the confidence that I have to say what I want to say, regardless of people hear me correctly or not. And then that translates into other areas of life. When you feel confident in this area, you can't help but feel confident in other areas. And so it helps our relationships. It helps us set boundaries and to know who we are. And then that's the abundance. That is the wealth consciousness, to know that I have it all. I get to create it. And I'm empowered that I have my own back. And if something gets in the way, I can face it. I can get through it. Nothing's going to stop me.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. I love it. I love it all. And I see you show up online, but you are literally glowing, for those of you watching the YouTube version of this podcast. But Whitney is glowing right now. And it's not just your ring light, but I can see how much joy is really pouring through you when you show up and talk about the work that you do. I don't see force. I don't see like fear. And so I love witnessing each other. We always say we're each other's number one fan, but I really do see it. And it's fascinating how we physically look different when we feel different, right? Like I could put on all the makeup and hair and clothes today, but if I don't feel it inside of me, those that are paying attention will notice.
Yes, energy speaks much more loudly than any of our other senses.
Exactly. So I love this conversation. We will put all of the links to, staying connected with you in the notes of this podcast, taste of tapping and access to the membership that you have and just your website. Can you do like a short tapping where someone can be guided just by hearing, or is it necessary to see you?
Absolutely. We can do just audibles. And the only reason that you would need to see me is if you're not familiar and you need to see where the tapping points are. But as I tap, I prompt you verbally. So I always encourage people to tap with their eyes closed anyway, so that they're not watching, because when you're inside, when you're within yourself versus focused on the outside world, it's much more significant. So absolutely, you can do it.
When I teach I Love Me Yoga, I always encourage my students to hear my words and trust themselves and not worry about what it looks like. So I will give verbal prompts on the next pose, but at the same time, like what feels good? I know that there is, in tapping, there are spaces that we tap that are intentional, that support us. But I mean, if I'm here instead of here, I feel like it'll still be effective.
The body has so much wisdom. And so I usually in my introductions, I'll say, if it doesn't feel comfortable to tap at one of these points, tap wherever you feel called, because naturally we gravitate to the points that have these tapping points at our collarbone or at our temple or on our fingertips. We intuitively know that there's some kind of impact when we fidget with those meridian points. This just brings more intention to it. And so, yes, the thing that I love about tapping is that it's not rigid. You can mold it so that it fits your needs and it still works.
Okay. All right. So if there's any topic or words that come to mind today, I will, if you want to do something that's just a few minutes long, then I think that we would enjoy that and benefit from it.
Sure. Should we do self-trust?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Take a breath. Everybody can just close their eyes and connect to the heart first, always leading with the heart, inviting a spark of love to grow into a flame and to spread through the body, knowing that you're safe. And we'll start tapping on the side of the hand, which is the meaty part next to the pinky. Just start tapping there and say, even though. Are you gonna repeat, Heather? Or are you just gonna be quiet?
I was just letting you guide.
Okay. So this is like Simon says, you'll just repeat after me. And if anything doesn't feel aligned, go ahead and adjust the words for yourself. So we'll start by saying, even though I want to trust myself more, I feel some resistance to it. And I still completely love and accept myself. And even though it feels scary to trust myself, I'm willing to take the leap. I'm willing to have my own back and to lead myself. And no matter what happens, I still love and completely accept myself. And even though I sometimes make mistakes, I'm still willing to come back home to my heart, to love and trust myself just a little bit more. Because I know that I am worthy. Good job. Moving to the top of the head. Sometimes it's hard to trust myself. Eyebrow point. But today I'm willing to trust myself just a little bit more. Side of the eye. I'm willing to let go of expectations. Under the eye. I'm willing to let go of other people's opinions. Under the nose. And to trust myself instead. Under the mouth. I know I have wisdom inside me. Collarbone point. And I want to trust myself more. Under the arm. I forgive myself for all the times I haven't trusted. Under the chest. And right here, right now, I choose to love and accept myself the way I am. Wrist point. I can trust myself. I know what I need. And I can lead myself to it. Hallelujah. Amen.
Hallelujah. Amen.
So that was just a teeny tiny taste of tapping. We just went through one round, but that gives you an idea.
And how many rounds do you recommend?
Typically, so there's so many different ways to do it. Typically, you start with venting and getting out the things that feel uncomfortable. And then we do what's called bridging the gap. And so we move into a willingness to shift, and then we land into the affirmations. And when we tap together one-on-one, it's never that clean and easy. We do a lot of dealing with addressing whatever comes up. But generally in a group session, that is how I'll lead, with 3 different sequences.
And then you would repeat it more than once?
Yeah, especially the affirmations. I like to go through the affirmations a couple times to really tap that into the being so that you can carry that energy throughout the day.
And if someone listens just once today, is there still a benefit?
Absolutely. Even if you don't say anything at all, if you go through and tap on these points, it is going to help soothe your nervous system. It's going to help get some energy flowing, some wisdom flowing, and taking that moment to pause and connect to your heart. That has a tremendous impact too. If you can make that a daily practice to just connect in, see what I need, remind yourself, I love and accept myself today. I'm willing to forgive myself today. I'm willing to trust myself today. That will make a huge impact.
I love it. I love it all. Well, Whitney, thank you so much for joining on today's episode 26 of What is EFT Tapping on Let's Talk Meditation with Heather Nieves. I am going to close out today's episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and rate it on Spotify, write a review on Apple, and tag us on social media and tell your friends about tapping and reach out to Whitney if you are amazed by her like I am. All right, I will talk with you very soon.